Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first book club live of 2021. This is the Booktube Chicks Book Club, and tonight we're going to be talking about Goddess in the Machine by Lora Beth Johnson, the first in a sci-fi duology. We read this month, and I think there's regret all around. So the way we format our live shows is for the first 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to be talking about our initial thoughts, our rating, and it's all going to be spoiler free. And then for the remainder of the live show, it will be spoilers. So who would like to start off with our initial thoughts?
Do you want to do a summary?
Kat, would you like to do your summary?
Yeah, I guess I'll start us off. So Goddess in a Machine, it is a sci-fi book. I thought it was set in space, but that's a spoiler. So it's about this girl who is, she was in a cryosleep and she's supposed to be traveling to this other planet along with other colonists. They're going to colonize this planet called Hollymouth, I think it's called. And turns out she wakes up, instead of waking up 100 years in the future, she wakes up 1,000 years in the future. She's by herself. She has no idea what happened to the other colonists. She has no idea what happened during the journey. She has no idea why she woke up so much later than what she was supposed to. She believes she had reached the planet Hollysmith. I apologize, I'm not entirely sure if that's the name. So she believes that she woke up in this planet and that she's surrounded by these aliens, although I thought they were aliens, but they're really, like, honestly, they're like regular people. They look like each other. But anyways, so she has to figure out how to get back to Earth, because these people think that she's a goddess because she has been asleep for so long, and all of a sudden they originally thought she was dead and she woke up. She like resurrected, whatever. And so she has to figure out a way to get back home while fooling these people into thinking that she's still a goddess. And these people want her to protect them from this evil swarm kind of thing called a pocket. And these people, they live in this dome, and the dome is cracking. It's becoming weaker and weaker, and a pocket could potentially, infiltrate the dome and kill people. So they're relying on her to fix the dome, but she's not really a goddess. She's just trying to get back home. And really, that's the premise of the book. Personally, as the only person, well, not the only person, but as the person who enjoys sci-fi the most out of all three of us, I was disappointed in this book. I was super, super excited because I love sci-fi books set in space. But for me, I just felt like the story felt flat. Like, it's a cool concept, waking up 1,000 years in the future instead of 100 years in the future, and, having all this technology and this alien advancement. And it's really, really a cool concept, but I felt like it wasn't delivered that way. And my biggest issue with this book is just I did not like the writing style. At one point, especially in the beginning, when the author's kind of like describing the world, it felt too descriptive to me. And at some points, I kind of zoned off. Like, I zoned away. I didn't pay attention. And usually for me, when I'm listening to audiobooks or if I zone out when I'm reading, I always go back, I rewind, and I re-listen to what I just read, because I want to make sure that I'm, absorbing everything about the book. I don't want to miss any important details. And this time, I just didn't care. I kept going. There are characters in here that I have no idea who they are. They played a small role in the book, and I have no idea what that role is. So that's just how I felt about the book. This book was hovering around the 2.5 stars. The ending got really, really interesting. So I might bump it up to 3, but it's really hovering around the 2.5 stars. I don't know if I'm going to give it a full 3 yet. Am I going to read the next book? Maybe. If I feel like picking up the second book, maybe, but most likely, just because I was not that impressed with this book, even with that ending, I am probably not going to.
So for me, I'm the one that does not read much sci-fi out of our trio. Not to say that there isn't some sci-fi and fantasy that I do enjoy. There are some that I like. This is not one of them. I really struggled with this book, and if it wasn't for book club, I would have DNF'd it. I did listen to the audiobook. I found multiple points where I was zoning out because for the most part I listen on my commutes, and like when I'm driving and I just zone out with what I'm listening to, and it just completely just blanks in my mind. So for this one, it had interesting elements, kind of, but not enough to like really keep my interest going. And it took me a long time to finish this because I just finished it a couple of hours ago, and there were points where I'm like, why is this still going on? Like, how is this book still happening? It's so long. So I'm hovering at a 2.5. It was a 2, but then like Kat said, the ending was really interesting. And even though it was interesting, I'm not going to pick up the second book when it comes out. So I think we're looking at like a generous 2.5.
I also kind of listened to the audiobook, but I was like reading alongside it. And the beginning was super, super confusing to me in regards to just like what was happening. I don't know. Like the story definitely just kind of throws you into the action. And sometimes that works really well, but it didn't feel like it was working well in this instance because I just wasn't retaining the information or what was happening. So it wasn't until like the middle of the book that I started to feel more invested in the storyline and the main characters and what was happening. And I don't think her writing necessarily changed. But what I will say is that, you know, at some point she kind of has this language that she made up. I forget where they lived. But anyway, so her made up language, at first I was like, oh, this is annoying. But eventually I was like, I'm going to say this all the time. You spoon, what is wrong with you? Like fishes and wishes. And I was like, it was like funny at some point, and I was just like, I'm totally saying this all the time now. So like probably by the midway point is where I got like more invested, and it went from a 2 to like a 2.75, so I'm going to round it up to a 3, and I may pick up the next book. It depends. If someone reminds me, like if there's a lot of hype, while it's coming out, then maybe I'll pick it up. But if like I forget about it, then maybe not. I am interested to hear what happens after in the next one, though.
I also want to add to my initial thoughts. I agree with what basically everybody is saying, where there's so many characters and so many like background characters that it was very confusing. And like there were so many chapters where it was like it'll start with like the traitor or the this or the that, and I'm like, who are these people?
Yeah, like the characters, like personally, I don't mind a book with a lot of characters. The problem with this book that I feel like the different characters just either didn't have a big enough role in it to make a difference in the story for me personally, or they were just boring. Like I have no idea who Kiv is, and he had like a couple of scenes, and I have no idea who he is. Skilla, I kind of remember who he is, and then there's just a couple of characters that I have. Xana, and I'm like, I kind of remember him, but I honestly couldn't tell you what his purpose in the book was. So the problem with this book is not that it has too many characters, it's that the characters aren't necessarily memorable. And so, yeah.
Kat, do you regret putting this in the hat to pull out of as a pick?
Honestly, when we started doing the picking, I only did it to counteract all the books you were putting in, because I knew you guys were gonna put all these contemporaries, and I'm just like, I'm gonna be a bitch and just put something that Chloe will never ever read on her own, and so I chose it.
That's the whole reason why I bought this, was because shortly after we did the picking, I saw it at the used bookstore. So that's the only reason why I bought it. So let's go ahead and move into spoilers. The first thing I want to briefly talk about this, but this isn't really a spoiler. The other day I was like driving home from work and I was listening to this audiobook, and I was just thinking, like, how terrifying would it be to be put into like a cryostasis and just essentially be frozen for however long? Like, I feel like I'd be terrified.
Well, you'd be sleeping. So for you, it would feel like a second. I would think it's something like having surgery when they put you to sleep. Like, it sounds like it would be super scary to have surgery, but like if you're not awake through any of it, you kind of don't remember what happens.
I think it's just like the thought of it. Like there, I mean, conspiracy theory here.
Yeah, I get it.
There's like, I heard something, I don't know where from, if it's true, et cetera, et cetera. It's most likely conspiracy theory, but like aliens. Like, okay, hear me out. So Area 51, all right? Mm-hmm. What's there? Nobody knows. Everybody says aliens. There's probably somewhere in the government, in the world, or whatever, people that are cryogenically frozen. Like, the thought of that.
I've heard about those rumors, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like aliens. Like, it's happened.
I mean, isn't there like an urban legend that Walt Disney is cryo frozen somewhere?
Yes. I think they specified his head, not his whole body.
Okay. But
yeah, conspiracy.
Personally,
okay.
Like, I feel like the whole thing with cryo sleep and being stasis is that you have no idea what's happening, and I feel like that's the scary part. Like, it's like kind of like the example you gave, Desiree, about, kind of like surgery and they put you under. If you die, you never know. You're just gonna wake up.
You're just gonna be dead.
Yeah. You're just gonna wake up whatever the afterlife is, and there you go. And I'm just like, I feel like that's the scare, because it's out of your control. Once you enter cryo sleep or you enter stasis, it's completely out of your control. You're at the mercy of whatever the outside element is, and I feel like that's just like the scary part. But yeah, essentially, you're sleeping. So,
plus, can you imagine like going to sleep and like waking up a second later and it's been 100 years? Can you imagine that? Or 1,000 years? Like, that's too much.
I feel like that's the scary part. Like, waking up, like with her waking up thinking that it's 100 years later, but really it's 1,000 years. Like, literally a century went by and all your family is dead, and I can't imagine like the panic. I feel like this book didn't really go into like how much of a panic we will all be in if we woke up 1,000 years later as opposed to 100 years. And the fact that you're by yourself, like, she had no one, she was by herself.
But yeah, I just wanted that was my first and foremost thought that I wanted to put out there. Just like, carry on now. I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there as like a feeler.
Yeah, it's interesting, but
I don't even know what I wanted to say. This is like, I don't think they like fully described how the cryo sleep necessarily works, but I know in like some other movies, you kind of inhale this liquid and it all goes in your lungs. So when they wake you up, you have to like cough it all out. And it wasn't described like this in the book, but I've seen movies where that's the case, and I feel like that would freak me out way more. Like, they have to like inhale liquid oxygen.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. if this is a thing that actually exists, I don't know how it works. Like, it has to be pretty advanced technology in order to somehow stop your body from aging. So that's my mind thinking, like, how do you do that? That's what, like, I want to know. Like, not necessarily like how it worked, just like what happens to your body, like how do they stop your body from aging? That's like the one thing I would love to know.
So kind of like jumping like way far into the book, turns out she was never on wherever it was supposed to be. She got quote left behind, and she's on like a decimated Earth. Like I'm picturing like Wall-E, like how Earth is like that.
Oh, I love Wall-E. Well, it wasn't just her. Like at the very end of the book, you find out that none of the colonists actually left. Spoiler alert for the very end of the book. So yeah, you
like,
find
what happened to them. Like,
I feel like I'm assuming they're gonna answer the book that question in the next book. I was wondering why didn't it ever go? Like, what happened? What happened to the mission? Why did they end up putting everybody on cryosleep but not actually, take them anywhere? And who was the one who put all those people in that one little hidden chamber?
And like, is the ship that was supposed to take them still hovering in the atmosphere?
Right.
Does anybody know about it?
It's a good question. And I'm just like, I thought like initially, like when you were talking about Chloe about like the language, and I thought it was broken English because I was thinking, oh, they're aliens and they somehow learned English to speak to these people, and it's not really broken English. It's like
they were speaking goddess.
It's like evolved English because
I'm not crazy.
She's speaking like 1,000-year-old English, and they're speaking like future English, so it's not really broken English anymore. But I do like some of the slang, like fishes and wishes, and for certs, and negs when you're gonna say no, and what is it that they say when they say yes?
Firm.
Firm, yeah. I
like that, like a future English somehow just drops the Lee sound, so it's awkward-ish, blessed-ish. Why replace it with ish? Blessed-ish.
I think I don't know why, but this one stood out the most to me. Is instead of dangerous, they said dangerful, and I thought that was interesting. But I feel like instead of getting a better English, it became like very simple, like you said, like they just switched everything to ish at the end.
So my comment made more sense now that we've all read the book, right, Kat?
Yeah.
It makes more sense now. It's just irritating. It's like, let's get rid of Lee and replace it with ish.
But
I think that because of the fact that like I got more invested at the middle of the book, that there's probably enough curiosity to carry me through into the second one. And the second one shouldn't feel so confusing because I'm sure it's going to throw you right into it there also.
I feel like the second one is going to follow mostly the guy because like the cover has I'm assuming the main guy on the cover, and I think it's mostly going to be following him, like, and then with her trying to figure out what the hell's happening.
It's interesting when you mentioned like Area 51 and aliens and stuff, because like I looked at the cover and he looks like the guy that played Michael in Roswell, the alien show. For whatever reason, I was like, God, that really looks like
I remember.
Michael.
So also she turns out to be an AI. She's not even really a human. Found that out too.
That's so traumatizing for AI to learn.
I had a suspicion, just because the second goddess, who was Ramsky, whatever her name is, Ramsey, she was an AI. So I was like, I was thinking to myself, imagine if she was an AI too, and everything she needed was her, like to power up the dome or whatever. But that was interesting that they made her into an AI at the very last few pages of the book.
I wonder if in all of those cryo tanks if there's some that have her family specifically. Like, I want to know if her mom is in there, or like maybe her mom was like still on the outside and she died or something like that.
I'm not sure. The book did, like, she mentioned when she found all those whatever the pods. It mentioned that she said something along the lines, I wonder if my family is in here, or the family that, she said something along the lines, not really her family because she's an AI, but the family that raised her or something.
Her creator.
Yeah.
Well, it sounded like Jade's mom was in there. And he had been thinking that she was dead.
Yeah, so at the very last page of the book, she said she found all the pods, and she said 1 million cryo tanks, 1 million colonists waiting to wake up on a different planet, and if she searched hard enough, she would find her family or the people she thought were her family. So I'm assuming they're in there somewhere.
That kind of goes back to what you were saying about how these people are at the mercy of like what's going on around them, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, I'm just. Does the book ever go into detail on what the pockets were? They're nanos, right, or whatever? So I was confused.
I don't remember about that.
I don't remember like the pockets specifically, or maybe this is, I don't know. Let me explain my thought here. I thought that everybody had like these things like embedded in like a control panel or something like behind, like on their head, and like they could control these nano things like that are like in the air or something. I don't know. Did I not understand this correctly? I don't think I understood a lot of this book.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I really didn't understand like the whole pockets and the nanos, and why the crown was able to control the robots, the androids, whatever, and were they made up of it? I really don't know, to be honest.
Maybe like that's like, you know how they have like 1,000-year-old English. This is like 1,000-year-old tech, and they're trying to, I don't know. They're trying to understand it or something.
What do you think about the villain of the story?
I honestly thought he was going to turn out to be a second love interest, like Zayn and him. I'm not even going to lie. And I was cheering for that because I love, like, some books. I just love when the bad guys falls in love. It just, it makes, I don't know. I like that trope. So I was kind of hoping he would turn out, but nope, it didn't happen.
Help me out here. The boy king is the enemy, right?
Yeah.
Did he die in the end? Did he
die?
No, they put him in. They put him in stasis, and then they buried him somewhere.
So he may as well be dead.
So they put him in a stasis. They put him in stasis, and they buried him.
1,000 years from now.
Yeah, they buried him, and then the other AI, Ramsey, whatever her name is, she's in charge of making sure no one like disturbs the area. No one figures out what happened and disturbs the area.
He is very Maven from the Red Queen. I know I told you guys that earlier, but
yeah.
But just to put it out there for anybody watching this is Red Queen. Like, it starts off okay and then it goes downhill. and Merritt is the boy king Maven.
What are your thoughts about their cos masks?
I didn't get that. I don't understand what that is. So
I don't remember hearing that at all, so I have no idea what we're talking about.
I don't know. I remember the mask, but I have no idea what they did.
From my understanding, it was just like a mesh mask that you put over your face and it changes what you look like.
I know at one point she put a mask over her birthmark in order to hide it for some reason. I don't remember why she wanted to hide it, but I that makes more sense. So
is that what Jade put on to look like Merritt?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, because she permanently changed his face.
Yeah, he used his little wand. Remember at the beginning of the book, he used his wand to heal her wound, and the healing causes a lot of pain. That's what he did. It doesn't heal. It changes what you look like. So when it's healing, he's kind of like changing what it looks like. So instead of like, for example, if you have a burn, instead of having burnt skin, you're gonna have smooth skin. So it's changing what it looks. So that's what he did to himself. He made himself look like Merritt using his little wand thing.
But like he was screaming and he was in a lot of pain.
Huh?
I understand. Oh, sorry.
I was just saying that he was screaming and he was in a lot of pain because it was actually changing his bone structure and his muscle structure.
Right, yeah.
I understand why they did it, but that's still unfortunate that now he's like gonna look like this person.
I mean, I hope Merritt is a handsome guy, you know, because it's permanent. So I don't know.
Maybe the person on the cover of the second one is what Merritt is supposed to look like. I'm gonna go look at it.
Like Michael from Roswell.
That's funny.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pull up a picture of him.
I mean, yeah, it does look like Michael. To be perfectly honest, I never thought Michael from Roswell was very handsome, so I can't.
I mean, he grew on me at some point. I think it's maybe when his like hair
he
got
just has a
longer.
douchey face. I'm sorry, but he does.
I need to look up this Michael person because I've never seen Roswell before. So
let me see if I can post it here.
Wasn't he kind of a douche too? It's been a long time since I Ross.
He was. I mean,
but did he start off as
he had a redemption arc though.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been years since I watched that show. Oh my god.
Yeah, I guess I can see it. I don't like that hair though. He looks like a bowl haircut.
I know. I don't like the hair on the cover. I don't know.
Here's the like. Okay, here's. I thought it was a better picture, but
yeah, that's definitely like 90s kind of haircut.
Right, and just to be clear, the original Michael, not the remake Michael, not the reboot Michael.
Right.
So, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know what else to talk about.
Like it was just like
okay. So, Serena, whatever her name is, who was she?
I don't know.
She was like the one that Merritt was always scared of. He kept. She had a position of power. Her name started with a T. TSUR.
Isn't that like their mom or something?
Is it?
I don't know. The person who wanted to kill Shade or something like that.
Right.
No, that's not their mom.
I thought he was lying the whole time
their
anyway.
Mom was the doctor.
But who is this lady? Like, why does she have so much power is my question.
I've got nothing.
I only remember seeing her name a couple of times, and I know by the time I noticed it, I was like, "Who's that?"
Yeah, I don't know because I feel like she appeared some little time, like not that much in the book, but she had this overwhelming power. Like she was the one who wanted to kill Zaid. He changed. I mean, he changed his appearance at the end primarily because of her, and also because of the people. Because he said that people only respect his power if he looked like Merritt or something like that. I don't know, and I don't know.
Did she have anything to do with the schism?
Good question.
Was she like...
I just feel like this book threw a lot of information out, and it just wasn't developed enough.
Because it sounded like, because they mentioned the schism a few times, which is like an opposing view, or there was like, I think they lived in like tunnels somewhere, but they viewed technology differently, whereas like Zayd and all them viewed technology as magic.
Right.
And so it was just like a differing perspective, even though it was kind of like the same thing. So I don't know if she was like part of the schism.
I think this is going to be a very short live show just because we all hated the. Well, we didn't hate the book.
I
but
didn't hate it.
We disliked it strongly.
I feel like I didn't understand 100% of the book enough for me to form opinions on. The only opinion I can form is that I didn't like the writing style. There were too many people that I don't remember. And there was just too many factors I also don't understand, like how the nanobots work, what the pockets really were.
Well, how'd you feel about the romance?
I didn't hate Zayd. I didn't hate the relationship personally. I just don't trust Zayd.
You didn't hate it, you just didn't like it.
It's hard to, because I don't know how I feel about the romance, because I don't necessarily, I was going to say that I don't think the romance was necessary, but I liked there was a moment of like romance between them. I just don't think I necessarily liked that Zayd was it. Like I said, for some reason I kept imagining Merritt as the other love interest, and I would have loved to see some like romance between the two of them. It's just me maybe, but I don't know. Zayd was just, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about him, to be honest.
Well, how do you feel about their first kiss and it being him?
It wasn't.
Shut her up.
Oh no. He's too arrogant. Sometimes that pisses me off. But that scene where they do kiss, and I don't know if they slept together or not, but that one scene, I thought it was a really sweet scene. It was really nice. Because I felt like Zayd was a little bit vulnerable in that moment, and I did like that one scene. But otherwise, I just don't know where I stand with Zayd, because I feel like sometimes he does show sincerity in his actions, but other times he's one of those guys you just can't trust. So
now,
and like at the end when she was put in stasis, like when they pretended to kill her, and she was like and he promised her that he would get her out of stasis, like out of cryo, so he wasn't gonna keep her in it. And she's like, "Don't make promises you can keep." And I was like, "That's right, you cannot trust him." I honestly didn't think he was gonna wake her up. I thought he was gonna be an asshole and just, keep her in stasis.
How did you feel about her? I feel like she mentioned Andra. Andra mentioned her weight several times.
Yeah, she did mention it a lot. I think it was supposed to be like fat rep, but I don't.
She
really
did
know
what?
She mentioned her body and her weight a lot.
Did she?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Here's one thing I quoted on page 129 because I read it and I was like, what? Okay. It says, she'd kissed boys before. A boy, Jay, behind the bleachers, freshman year. Neither had been into it. They'd just done it because they were both considered the fat kids, and it seemed to be expected of them. Andra remembered thinking it was better than she anticipated, and that lips felt weird. This was nothing.
Wait, stop right there. Your book says Andra remembered it was better?
Wait.
My book says it was wetter.
Wetter. It does say wetter. Sorry.
I was like, wait a second.
Andra remembered thinking it was wetter than she anticipated and that lips were weird. This was nothing like that. She was waiting for it to be over or overly aware of her limbs. She wanted to keep kissing him, wanted him to keep kissing her. She wanted. But, like, did we have to say they just done it because they were both the fat kids? I don't know. It's like, it just felt really weird to read that. I was like, what?
I didn't pick up on these references about her weight. Is there more?
That was the only one that like I kind of screamed at. But she does call herself fat several times.
I mean, if this is her on the cover, we have serious issues here. Like, what mirror are you looking at?
But it seems, I guess, interesting for an AI to be concerned. But I mean, I guess the AI thought she was human. I don't know.
But like, my question is, are the AIs in this world, are they, what's that word, sentient? Is that what the word is? That they have developed a soul, they kind of developed a humanity kind to them?
That's what it seemed like. Because if she didn't even know she was a computer until like way later, I feel like there had to be some humanity there.
I personally would have loved just to read a book on her, knowing she's an AI and developing her humanity, but that's just me. But that would be a totally different story. But
like Aiko in Lunar Chronicles.
yes. But yeah, that's just, was that even necessary? Like, that whole paragraph? Like, she's kissing him, right? Or he's kissing, and that's that point where he randomly kisses her.
Yeah, he was kissing her to shut her up because they were like talking about something, and then he was like, he just grabbed.
I mean, if you want to go into that scene, like if you want to compare it to your first kiss or whatever, I just don't know where the whole, oh, I'm fat and fat kids are supposed to do this together. I don't understand why that needed to be said. You know what I mean? Like, just.
I mean, she wanted to make the comparison just that she had been kissed before and that this felt different, and that's fine. But I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what to say.
I heard it, and I was like next to John, and I was like, "Did you just hear that?" And so I played it back, and I like put it in my notes. What else do I have here? I have like something else. Let's see. Oh, I thought this was funny because it was literally one line, and if I hadn't been paying attention, it would have like been easily missed. But I think she was talking to Jade, and he was like using his fingers to be like 1, 2, and 3, you know, like explaining things that happened. And then it says, Andra showed him one of her fingers, a gesture that was lost on him.
I remember that scene.
And it was just one line, and I was like, oh, all right.
I remember that, and I'm like, I feel like it's so much better when people don't understand what you mean. And the fact that you didn't know what she was doing. Yeah, I remember that. That was a good scene.
So, I don't know. I mean, like, I think she did. She told him that she was like an AI. I don't remember what his reaction was, though.
Oh, at the end?
Because at that point...
Well, she didn't tell him, remember? No, I don't remember.
She basically said, you've been using my sword. You've been using my firmware update.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is that he was there when she found out that she's an AI, so I don't really know.
Do you think their romance is going to continue in part 2? I think
Probably.
I think they're going to get married.
Well, damn. I'm like, I was like, that was a big leap. I mean, yes, I do think that.
Well, he's the gov now. Doesn't he need someone to lead with him?
I mean, yeah, but I was like,
does he really?
I mean, I unless she brings Merritt back, and there's a love triangle in the second book. Yes, they're gonna be together. The thing is, Andra doesn't like Merritt, so I don't know how it's gonna be because he now looks like Merritt, and I just feel like in her head she's gonna have to work on separating the two. I mean, she knows that Zayd is Zayd, but he still looks like Merritt, and I feel like to her she has to separate the fact that that Zayd is not Merritt, and that might strain their relationship, but I don't know how it's gonna work. Especially the fact that no one else knows that it's Zayd, only her and the other AI. So
I don't know how they expect to get away with that, because if like part of the reason they wanted to dethrone him was because he was ruling like a dictator, like you can't, even with a different face, you can't just throw Zayd in there and expect him to be all compassionate and everybody not questioning why he's different or acting different or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how it's gonna work out. When you read the book, you let us know.
All right, so as my final question, would you read, we've already decided we might read the second book, but would you read anything else from this particular author, like a different story?
Here's the thing. Okay. I'm going to use a different example. Ryan LaSala, all right? I hated Reverie. His new book that just came out, though, sounds really good. So it would honestly depend. But, like, his new book is, like, a completely different genre, so it depends.
It's contemporary. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it would depend. And I mean, I don't like saying no to authors based off one bad experience with a book unless it's an author that did something bad in a book, like wrote something offensive and realized that she did it. And obviously I don't want to support an author like that, but I don't want to write off an author just because I didn't like one particular book. I mean, like, for example, Colleen Hoover. I hated that book, November 9, whatever it's called. But I did enjoy her other book that I read, which I now forgot the name of. But it was really
All Your Perfects.
Yes, that one was really, really good. So, yeah. So I guess it will depend. Like Chloe said, it will depend on the genre. If she writes another sci-fi, I probably will be hesitant just because I like this one. But we'll see.
Here's another example. Adam Silvera. Love all of his contemporary books. He published a fantasy last year, and I did not like that at all. And I don't think it was because it was fantasy, because like I read the whole book, I didn't DNF it. It was kind of like this, where it was like really confusing and boring. So it depends.
What about you, Desiree?
Maybe if it was a contemporary. I don't know, like I feel like I dabble in a lot of different genres, but I try not to focus on one specifically. Like there are some sci-fi books that I really like, but I would never say that like I'm into sci-fi, because some are just like too sciencey, too just like, I don't know, space heavy, just like certain things. And this felt a little bit like that to me, just with the like the nanites and the nano things and the binary and the AI. I don't know. I didn't feel like I was fully grasping what was happening, and so maybe if it was another genre, I might check it out.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else we would like to talk about with this book?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Do we want to do a final thoughts? Yeah.
Desiree, since you went last, you can on the initial thoughts.
Okay, so my final thoughts are that I'm going to give it a 3, and I'm open to reading the next book, but I'm not going to be like rushing or like waiting for it at the edge of my seat. If I happen to hear a lot about it, like right before it comes out, maybe I'll pick it up. But if I end up really liking the second one, I think I would be willing to go back to reread the first one, just to see like what I missed, to see if I understand anything better. Because sometimes that's just the thing. I don't know, man. I read Ninth House and I had to read the first 5 chapters like 5 times because it was not sinking in. I had no idea what it was saying, but by the 5th time, I was like, I get it, I understand it, and then I love the rest of the book. So, it could be something like that. Like if I reread half of the book again, maybe I'll understand it on a different level. So I don't know. As of right now, I don't really want to reread it, but I might be willing to if I enjoy the second one. Those are my final thoughts.
Okay, I'll go next. Expectations were high because, again, I really like sci-fi. They were not met, not even close. I was really excited just because I like the whole with sci-fi. I really like books set in space, but I also really like the ones that have the AI, have these androids or artificial intelligence. I like all of that, and I thought it was really interesting that the premise of the book is that, hey, she was supposed to wake up 100 years from now. She woke up 1,000 years from now. So I did have some high expectations for this book just because it kind of met all the criteria that I really enjoy in a sci-fi, and it just didn't do it for me. I thought that the writing was awkward. Sometimes I felt like the writing was over descriptive to the point where I was just zoned out, and I'm just like, and honestly, I do like world building, but I just feel like if it gets to the point where if the world building is no longer being relevant to the story, just stop, but that's just me. As we mentioned, there's nothing wrong with a book having a lot of characters, but if your characters aren't really interesting or really, really contributing to the story, there's no point in putting them in there. I feel like there were a couple of characters that they played a larger role, but I have absolutely no idea what their purpose for the story was, like Kiv and Skyla, whatever the name was. There was just these characters that showed up and they had these small scenes, and I couldn't tell you one thing about them because I just was not interested in them at all. So I just feel like the book did fall flat. I'm hovering around a 2.5 star. I might just give it a 3, but I haven't decided yet, just because the ending was really interesting. I will probably not read the second book, but I'm not going to say no just because one day I might wake up and just be interested in finding out what happens in the second book, because there were a couple of unanswered questions in the first book. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
I'm going to keep my final thoughts short and simple for myself here. I was bored and confused, and I'm giving it a 2.5. And I have no interest in reading the second one, even though the ending was interesting and cliffhangery. But yeah, I was just bored and confused for 10 hours of an audiobook. So moving into February book club pick, we are going to be reading something really exciting, and it is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. This is the prequel to The Hate You Give, and it's going to be following Maverick, which is Star's father, when he was 17. I'm really excited to discuss this one with you guys. And our live show is going to be on Sunday, February 28th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Booktube Chicks for any updates and for talk of the next couple of books that we're going to be reading. Also, before I forget, because I feel like we don't talk about it enough, we're going to be doing Pages and Pals, which is a monthly live read-in where you can come and read with us for an hour. That's on Saturday, February 13th. Did we say 5 p.m.? I feel like 5 p.m. is correct.
Yeah.
Saturday, February 13th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be over on Kat's channel. And it'll also be tweeted from the Booktube Chicks Twitter. So come join us on both of those days for reading with friends and discussing a book club pick. But yeah, if nobody has anything else to add, that's all we have for this live show today. And hopefully we will see you guys next month to discuss Concrete Rose. Bye.